I mean, it's really all about a door opening and somebody holding that door open. And if the talent is there, then that's the happy union, of timing and talent and somebody to believe in you. So I feel like whoever is rising to the point of being able to help others, recruit others, like Nanita was saying, she was mindful. I think mindfulness is a key word in terms of diversity being a focal point, because when you're mindful of inclusion, and again, not just for the sake of inclusion, but that is an
Right.
important point that, is we're at that cultural point. So we need to be mindful. And I think there's strength in numbers. And by bringing in people in projects that are equal parts talented and also happen to be a minority, I feel like you're slowly that way changing the makeup of an industry. So it takes, a few of us to kind of recruit another few of us and then another few of us and sort of having that as a priority. Or like JB said, it's not, nothing is, uh, we're all here because nobody told you when you grow up, you're going to make music and you're going to make music for video games. It's passion. Everybody's here because of their passion. This is something we love. Whether some doors open or not, it's still because of passion. So I feel like it's passion that always leads us to the next level, whether that being, um, like we're saying, having diversity matter and being a focal point. So it's about thinking that's not impossible, thinking that it might be a little difficult, not impossible. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I could add, I get asked this question often from like composers in Japan too, because I think a lot of Japanese composers want to come out here and and work on Western projects in Hollywood and games by Western developers. And I honestly, I have trouble answering that. So I'm always thinking about this, how to answer and
Right.
best give them advice. And I think it really does boil down to visibility in the industry. And I think a lot of the people watching this right now is interested in, okay, how do I get into the door? How do I get games myself? Which is it's a question that we all struggle with. Um, but it really just boils down to visibility and people in town knowing who you are. Because let's face it, there's some child in a European village or somewhere no one's heard of who's going to write better music than I can ever dream to write in my entire career. So it's not about, I mean, it is about musical talent, but it's about being at the right place and being visible, I think, is extremely, extremely important. The same way, like that's the same way you get an agent too, right? Like you have to feel the agent needs to feel like they know you. Oh, you're talked about. It's like, oh, TK, I know him. Yeah, okay, well, I'll sign him. He might become something. Same thing with games. Like, oh, JB, I've heard of him. Of course, he's the guy who did that music. Nainita, of course, I know her. Like, and you feel like a familiarity once you are visible at a certain level. So diversity, like I guess, sorry, the original question was how do we get the doors open for more people and be more inclusive. I think there's a lot of systems there in place right now, better than ever, more so than ever before. So it's really up to people to kind of step up and become visible, become vocal, and make yourself heard. I know it's difficult, and I think I just saw like an article, not too long ago. This was about a month ago, kind of making this circles on Twitterverse about self promotion, and it was titled something like, "Oh, it's like it sucks. I don't want to do this," but the dark truths of having to promote yourself or something to that extent. But I think it's absolutely that's absolutely correct. You just have to make sure you are visible, and I think it really just boils down to that.
Great.
Can I,
So just
Oh, yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts on these kind of discussions.
yes.
But I'm going to try and keep it very brief. One, it is about relationships and visibility. And the way that people end up being visible, I think, is two ways. One, we are now in positions where we can hire people. We can hire assistants, we can hire orchestrators, we can hire folks. Now, I want to remove any sort of thought that says, because I'm hiring a person of color, I'm getting less than, right? Because that's usually the first thing that people think. Because I'm looking for someone of a particular background that might not have this experience, I'm now taking a chance, or I'm getting someone that's less than. And that has been exactly the opposite of my experience. that there are people who are extremely talented, extremely educated, have the experience, but for whatever shape or reason, they just haven't had that opportunity. So I'm always looking to hire people, right, on my teams and in the circles that I go around, and I can source them and find them. And part of that then is I have a responsibility as an employer to make sure that they are visible, that everybody at the studio can see, this is my team and they're freaking awesome. Look at the rainbow in the room and it's awesome. When we did Transformers, and I know it's not games, but just as an example, when we did Transformers, people came into the room and said, I've never seen this many people of color in a control room for a major movie like this. And that's probably the single most proud thing I am about that score, is that my orchestrator was Susie Sider, a Thai woman. I had Nathan Matthew David and my assistants, DeAndre Allen Toole, people of color. You know, when they came into that room, it looked like America. The orchestra, the musicians in the orchestra, they said they've never seen as many people of color in the orchestra, because I was very specific about making sure that I'm looking for quality, but I'm also looking for people that need this opportunity or have not had this opportunity. So I think the buck starts with us. We have to be intentional first, and we have to be visible, because if we don't do it, then no one else is going to see it.